From the Podwires newsroom at joinpodwires.com.
Hey, what's up? Welcome to Podwire's 5 Things for Wednesday, November 20th. I'm your host, and today we're diving into the podcast world because apparently everyone and their mom has one now. We've got Apple's year-end charts revealing who actually won 2025, surprising data on whether people are watching or listening to podcasts, new AI tools helping creators plan live tours, a potential podcast company sale brewing, and a reminder that the internet is held together with digital duct tape. Let's get into it. Thing number 1, Apple Podcast just dropped its 2025 year-end charts, and surprise, surprise, Joe Rogan is still on top. The Joe Rogan Experience claimed the number 1 spot for most popular podcast of the year, followed by The Daily from the New York Times and the Mel Robbins podcast. True crime still absolutely dominating. Crime Junkie landed at number 4, and shows like Deadly Mirage and Murder in the Moonlight swept the new releases category. But here's what's interesting. The Telepathy Tapes became the most shared show of the year, a podcast about nonverbal communication that apparently everyone needed their friends to hear. Apple's announcing their official show of the year on December 4th, so place your bets now. My money's on something involving murder or Mel Robbins telling you to get your life together. Why does this matter? Because these charts literally shape what gets greenlit, what gets funded, and what you'll be hearing ads for on every platform next year. Thing number 2, despite everyone talking about watching podcasts on YouTube, new data shows most people are still just listening. According to a massive study by Cumulus Media and Signal Hill Insights, 92% of weekly podcast consumers say they listen to podcasts, while only 8% say they exclusively watch them. Wait, but isn't YouTube the biggest podcast platform now? Well, kind of. While people think their YouTube is their most used platform, actual listening time tells a different story. Spotify and YouTube are basically tied at around 28-29% of podcast time spent, with Apple at 18%. Here's the thing, 70% of YouTube podcast listeners say they'd switch platforms if their favorite show moved somewhere else. Translation, people follow the content, not the platform. Smart TVs are now used more for podcasts than smart speakers, which feels wrong. Like we've come full circle to watching people talking to microphones on our TVs. The future is weird. Thing number 3, your favorite podcasters are about to get a lot smarter about where they tour thanks to AI. Listener.com just partnered with Eventbrite to help creators use AI to figure out which cities have the most engaged fans. They're calling it Smart Route Recommendations, which honestly sounds like something a GPS would say, but okay. The tool automatically syncs ticketing data with listener analytics from Apple, Spotify, and YouTube to show creators where their super fans actually live. So instead of just guessing maybe Cleveland, hosts can see real data on where people are most likely to show up. Why should you care? A study earlier this year found 21% of podcast fans have attended a live show, and that number is growing fast. If you're wondering why your favorite pod is suddenly announcing a tour that's hitting your exact city, this is why. They know you're there. Also, event pages with videos apparently see a 10% higher conversion rate, so expect to see a lot more hype reels in your feed. Thing number 5, an activist investor is pushing Podcast One toward a potential sale, and it's getting messy. Galloway Capital Partners just bought a 3.15% stake in the company and is publicly calling for the board to evaluate options, including a sale or merger. Their argument? Other podcast companies have been acquired at valuations up to 10 times revenue, and Podcast One's stock is way undervalued. But here's the catch. Parent company LiveOne owns 71% of Podcast One, so any deal needs their blessing, and they've been exploring options since April anyway, especially after Napster sold for $207 million earlier this year. The slightly concerning part, Podcast One's quarterly report says there's substantial doubt about the company's ability to continue without additional financing. Despite that, they just reported their strongest quarter ever with $15.2 million in revenue. So someone's about to make a move here. Stay tuned. And thing number 5, a quick reminder that the entire internet is basically held together by like 5 companies. Earlier this week, Cloudflare, a company you've probably never heard of that protects millions of websites, had a global outage that caused error messages across the internet. The problem was a configuration file that grew too large and crashed their traffic management system. By the time they fixed it a few hours later, sites like X and OpenAI also experienced increased outages. Not great. This comes less than a month after Amazon WS outage did the same thing. As one cybersecurity expert put it, we're seeing how few companies actually run internet infrastructure, so when one fails, it becomes obvious really quickly. So yeah, next time someone asks if the cloud is safe, just remember that the cloud is literally just someone else's computer, and sometimes those computers have a bad day. And that's your 5 things for today. Joe Rogan's still winning, people are still just listening to podcasts despite what YouTube wants, AI is mapping tour cities, Podcast One might get sold, and the internet remains held together by hope and a prayer. Tomorrow we'll see what else breaks, literally or figuratively. I'm out. Catch you next time.
That's your wrap. Want the inside track on podcasting? Join podwires.com is your next stop. Subscribe to the newsletter for the latest trends and tap into the marketplace to connect with jobs, creators, and brands shaping audio's future. Don't just listen, get involved. Head to joinpodwires.com today.